Om Shanti. Brother Andrew speaking from Romford Centre on the subject of the power of faith. Faith is a very interesting subject because when people are asked about their faith, they normally talk about their religious beliefs. And I think this word faith has got very much entwined with this word belief. So belief and faith are seen as the same thing, but actually they're not. One you're very much using to actually build a character from within, and you do that with your belief. But just to clarify it, when you have a belief system, when the vibrations of that knowledge and that awareness goes into your subconscious, then it's called faith. So it's basically vibrations that you build up about a certain belief system. And of course, when you look at the insecurities in humanity, you've also got to clarify the difference between a faith based on ego or so-called self-confidence and a faith in the self that's born of your true identity, your true self, because there's a world of difference between the two. One leads to further insecurity, further sensitivity, further vulnerability, and being more and more volatile to what people say and what people do. And I remember with the male ego very much in my youth when I was growing up, and it was all my friends saw me as a relatively confident person, but inside when people said hurtful things, I held them inside of myself for long periods of time in my memory banks, because that's what the memory is. It's a bank, and it banks away all the things that you don't necessarily want to store away. And there's a lot of good things actually banked in the memory banks as well. And our account of security, strength and inner power has been depleted by the so-called strengths of the outside, where people have this aim and objective in the material life, and we have these academic studies in which we judge our progress, and others judge us by our progress and what we make of our life. And in actual fact, you can do all of that and still feel quite insecure, because it can be removed relatively quickly in the life, or it can be threatened. And so when people have faith in what they have rather than what they are, then there's a world of difference between the two. One you can build on, and one is making you fall apart internally when there's a crisis. So that's why they say keep your head when everyone else is losing theirs, because this is what faith does. It becomes instilled in you as soon as you have new knowledge and a new awareness. So it's an interesting subject, faith, in the sense of, I remember a person, a hypnotherapist, that actually cured someone of smoking, and cured quite a few people of smoking, but they themselves, the professional person, actually smoked themselves. They were actually helping people overcome certain things that they also couldn't overcome. And in reality is that because the client doesn't know that, they keep their faith in that person, and their belief system is that it's that person that's empowering them. But in actual fact, of course, that person does have power, but it also triggers our own power. So the person, because their faith was being used, and that's what we want to do by the end of the day, start using faith because it's already there. And faith moves mountains, moves any obstacles and any problems. Faith can give you a lot of patience because you're not in bondage to the result anymore. You're just waiting for the bad to pass and the good to come along, and it will. But if this person was to have known that the therapist actually was a smoker, or many people have fear, and they're helped with their therapy with fear, and yet lots of therapists have an immense amount of fear. I remember when we had a mind, body and spirit festival, and there was a psychiatrist there, and at the end of the day the psychiatrist came to us for some meditation because they couldn't help actually taking on board, and probably have done for years, all the problems stored in their memory bank. And so psychiatrists need psychiatrists at times, and therapists need therapists. But really a Raj Yogi shouldn't need another Raj Yogi if they're understanding it the way it's needed to be understood. And that's that when you're building a character, you're building your faith in that character, and you're using your faith in that character as well to build more power, to build more faith. So it basically starts off with our true nature. And if you don't believe that your true nature is peace, then your belief won't allow yourself to have that level of faith. You will still have faith, but you'll have faith in doubt, which is still the power of the soul being used in a negative. Because if you don't believe, if you believe that all your sanskars or personality traits are passed down by your parents and there's nothing you can do about them, then you've got faith, but you've got faith in the doubts in the self. And so all the negatives are equally as strong as the positives in that world of thinking. But if you alter your world of thinking that, everyone does want peace, no one really likes peacelessness. They only fight for peace to get peace. They don't fight for peacelessness. They fight for peace. So the peace is already on board. It's within the character of the true identity of the self, the soul, the being that's separate from the physical body and using matter. So when you become externalized with your security, it actually becomes security for the present and insecurity long term. And the memory in the bank has a memory of that. Everything that you've done to try to achieve peace and security, it memorizes. So you've actually got a war inside that's taking place, and you're actually fighting with the power of your own peace that's inside and your own faith in that peace. As soon as you know that you're a soul, when you think, I am a peaceful soul, a being of energy, this is all information. And the more you have faith in it, the more you start to become separate, bodiless. You're using the body, but you're less the body, your body less. So you're seeing, speaking, listening as a soul to other souls. And you're becoming more aware of the peace that's inside, that's filled with stillness and stability, and really a culture, a dignity. It's almost like a code that you live by peace, you die by peace, because your future will be full of peace and also filled with peaceful people around you as well. But because people don't have this code or this culture deeply ingrained in them, they don't actually live by this state of peace, so that peace matters come what may. So what happens with people in general is that they realise themselves to be peaceful souls on an information level, and then because they're not loyal to their true nature, there's not complete patriotism towards peace. The ego starts to believe that they know more than they do, and that I'm on this particular path, so therefore I'm higher than them. And you don't really want to go down that line. You'll see it sneaking in at times when someone does offend and say something that's not very nice. And which way do you go? Do you go towards the reaction, or do you go towards responding in a state of detachment and peace? Because it all depends on your loyalty, and it all depends on your belief system as well, that you've really got to start believing that peace is powerful and can work wonders, especially when you've got faith in that peace, because then it becomes the power of peace. So you're using your faith really in being a soul. You're using your faith in yourself as an identity that's separate to matter, using matter. So you're not being dominated by the physical anymore, or the material. So this is very interesting, because this is the first faith that we get instilled in, and it starts off with our belief, and then once we start to enjoy that, then we start to develop more and more faith, and more energy is promoted to that. So every single person on the earth has this faith, but sometimes they've got this faith in their negativity, their insecurity, and they'll say, well, I've always been like that. So they're still using faith, and the power of their belief makes those vibrations go into the bank. So they basically got to be undone now. There's you get these children nowadays, and they need so much praising up to make them feel good. And of course, we have to do that. If someone needs praise, then what to do but praise them up and give them the feel-good factor. But then they should also start to, as they say, you can give a man a meal of fish, but if you teach him how to fish, you'll teach him for life. And so you're not actually making them dependent on your praises. You're actually making them think for themselves, and let the children of the world know that happiness isn't in all the desires of the material world, because that just builds a lot of insecurity and fear. And what happens with desires is, as soon as one is satisfied, it gives birth to another. But for that period of time, while it's being satisfied, they have faith that this is the way to go, that this will give me happiness, this will give me peace of mind, which is why they say peace of mind motoring, and they sell so many life insurances, house insurances, fridge, freezer, cooker, everything's got insurance to make the human mind more secure. But actually that's your organ, and only you can make that organ, that spiritual organ, peaceful and stable, because it's the faith in the self that we're talking about, not the faith in the self of an external nature. And so faith moves mountains, because when you've got faith in yourself, that tends to rub off on others, and they feel that sense of well-being, that sense of security. And even those people let you down and do you a wrong, but don't lose faith in them, because when you lose faith in them, you lose heart and start to become disheartened. So that's the first aspect of faith, faith in the self, not just the identity, but faith in what your true nature is. And it has to be very crystal clear for you to actually experience your true nature, because it's covered up by a second nature, or we can say a degraded nature, where I believe that peace can be found somewhere outside, and then at times we feel the peace inside because we're with the people that we love and the people that give us their best, and the possessions that we've worked hard for all our lives. But then that's all a part of your identity, your physical identity, that can be ripped away. And what happens is that the faith then shifts to fear. So we have faith in the fear of something, which makes fear powerful, but it's not the fear that's powerful. Fear is just false evidence appearing real, but it's the actual faith in that fear that makes it so strong. You know, when you think of anger, and if you've got faith in that you are an angry person, then you're having faith in your second nature rather than your true nature. And the only reason why you got angry in the first place was because there wasn't enough faith in your first nature, your true nature. So you're using faith to actually, it's a belief system, agreed, but it's connecting to truth, the reality. And because it's connecting to truth, you're aligning with something. When there's a false identity, or the second nature is taken on, you're actually dealing with, you're trying to align with falsehood. You might not even want to align with that falsehood. Who wants to be a frightened person who lacks confidence? But because they have faith in that being their true self, which is what they've got in them. One person actually said, I was born with mental illness. And the thing is, that makes it, she didn't believe in past lives, didn't believe in future lives. So there's a bit of a conundrum for that soul, because unless you can get people out of that mindset, and they've actually got to want to come out of that mindset where they've had enough, because this doesn't produce a feel-good factor. And anything that's to do with truth and reality and the highest form of dignity gives you the feel-good factor. Sorrow is just a lack of understanding. And as soon as you change the understanding, the sorrow falls away. It's just a click of a dial, where you're turning a dial round on your understanding. So sometimes when people talk about angels, I think really we're talking about angles, where you actually change the angle and you start to see yourself in a different light, so that you're not feeling that you're the embodiment of mistakes. You've just got to make a subtle change, a subtle connection, and use your faith towards the peace that's instilled eternally within the human consciousness, the soul. So if you've got faith in peace, then you're on your way. There was a little story about that, where the angel said to God, where can we hide peace where man can't find it? And the angel said, well, I know, we'll hide it in the sky. He won't find it there. And God said, well, he will, because he's got flying craft. And then the angel said, well, what about if we hide it underneath the sea, deep in the ocean? And God said, well, he'll find it because he's got underwater craft now. And God then said, I know, we'll hide it inside of him. He'll never look there. And that's where your true peace is. It needs a lot of faith, not really talking about belief. We've already gone past that, hopefully. But we're talking about the powerful sense of faith in your... So you're actually investing in an energy, in an awareness of your feelings of peace, deep within in the archives of the soul, still working for you non-stop, making you always believe that peace is what you want, happiness is what you want, love is what you want, peace, love, happiness are all how you enjoy to be. And so how you enjoy to be is how you truly are. When we're angry, we feel upset, so that means we're not set anymore, not connected to our true nature, and we need to readjust to become set again. So this is the first thing, the self, the peace within the self, your true identity, and that you're an eternal being that came into this body at a certain time, will leave this body at a certain time. Don't talk too much about death. Don't talk too much about loss. Don't talk too much about missing out. Don't analyze too much. Don't scrutinize too much. Just work towards being a peaceful soul. The Om Shanti. And when there's people who pull you into that way of thinking, see how much you go into it and see how long it takes for you to come out of it, because that means your faith in your true nature is growing and becoming stronger and stronger. However much we get pulled by it, and there's that, oh, I've been pulled, and now your true nature will start to come back because it's becoming more dust-free. The more you invest your energy in meditating on your reality, your truth. So when all of a sudden someone offends me and I get caught up, for how long do I get caught up, and how long does it take me to come out of that? So this is also requires my monitor, and it is just in monitoring. If I stay, so it goes through an irritation to a reaction, and once the reaction's taking place, you're actually losing sync with your true self. Your true nature is actually being ignored. So therefore it could become angry words, violent words, even threats, and then the worst of all is the violence. So you're actually coming away from all of that, and all that happens really is everything that comes your way in life, it's just seeing how long you stay in that way of thinking and how long it takes you to come out of it. Because what will happen in time is a very negative situation will come up suddenly, and you'll find that you're not being moved into the shock of everything, because that's what you've been practicing. You're unraveling now. You're journeying back to the source. You're journeying back to your true self. And we've been caught up in the false self for many lives now. So it's no wonder people get caught up for long periods of time and takes them a while to come out of it. But once you are coming out of it, you really get the taste for your own stillness, your own stability. And when you say Om Shanti, it feels like it's speaking rather than you speaking. It's as if it's vibrating because you're building up those vibrations of the true Om, which means I am. Really, we shouldn't even need the word Shanti or Shanti Swarup, the embodiment of peace. We should just really need the word Om, because it's coming from who and what you are, because you've built that up with faith. If it's only on a thought level, it can be diverted away again and again, but it has to enter the awareness using the power that's inside of you, which we call faith, in your own inner peace, and allowing it to be experienced and felt, and enjoy it for a moment to the next moment to the next moment. And the second aspect of faith is if you believe God is a good God, because we always say good God, we don't say bad God, we say good God. If you believe that God gives happiness and sorrow, then you can't really have faith with any power, because it's necessary to believe in God as He is. Same again, reality. Your reality, His reality. He doesn't give sorrow. He doesn't give that, choosy kind of, He hasn't got that personality whereby if you do something wrong, He'll do you a wrong, and if you do something right, He'll pat you on the head. He's always forgiving. He's always a loving being. These things that happen that are bad, that people use as, oh, God did this to me, is really wrecking your power of creativity, because it's no longer in your hands. It's in His hands. What's in your hands is to transform. And you use that with faith in God, that God loves me, and I've got to understand the way God loves me, because detachment and love have to be equal. Human love is not detached and loving, it's attached and loving. So they're part of everyone's emotions. So their love isn't really helping, empowering people. It's just a momentary feel-good factor. But the person isn't instilled in faith in their own self, because there's no power in it. It's just become a word and an emotion now. Love. And the way God loves, He loves us in a detached and loving way. So when we're doing wrong, He'll watch us. He'll be the observer to it. Still there's the love, the good wishes, the best feelings in the world are coming to you, and you need faith that they are. That's where you need to put your faith, that God loves me and these good wishes are coming towards me to support me, to uplift me, to move me, to transform me. And then you're allowing His love to work for you. So obviously if we understand karma, we would never have believed in the first place that God gives happiness and sorrow, because it's as you sow, so shall you reap. And God isn't giving you the reward of that. That's not His role. That's according to the drama, according to life. Whatever comes my way, if I do good, be good, act good, think kindly, and act in a loving way, then that will come back to me, because that's the law of karma. God isn't in the law of karma. He actually gives me the understanding so that I can take the power from His love, rather than the way I assume love to be, the way I've been programmed love to be. His love is a love that empowers people. When He says, I love you, he automatically fills the soul with that love. That love's being offered because he is the embodiment of what he says. People aren't the embodiment of what they say regarding virtues. They're very often the embodiment of negativity, but their mindset is so different to God's. If you do 10 things right, you might get 1 praise. If you do 1 thing wrong, you might get 10 insults. So the actual mindset is topsy-turvy, where they only see success in how much money you've got, how beautiful or how handsome you are, your youth, and what you've done with your life. That's why many people see the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University or Raj Yoga, as I prefer it, because that means a self-sovereign. Many people see Raj Yogis as wasting their time because they're working on themselves. The self is the seed of everything else. Everything that happens to you is not to do with the cause, it's got to do with the effect of the cause. And if the cause is right, which is the seed, the true identity, then the reaction to whether we say the universe or whether we say the drama, whatever comes your way will be what you're putting out. And if something comes bad your way, it's because we put it out in that way. We put something bad out in our past and it's just coming to say goodbye. So goodbye, like that. So faith is the vibrations that go in through our belief systems, and that those vibrations leave the faith, the power that's in the self. If it's a false power, then it will empower the ego. If it's a true power, it will empower our self-respect. It has to be connected to your true nature, God's true nature. Then when people come to test me, I'll monitor whether I'm getting caught up in the ego. I'll know because I'm becoming defensive, and defensive means doubting the self. Offensive is also doubting the self, because I'm trying to actually make myself be bigger and bolder than someone else. But when you recognize that very quickly, your peace, which you're loyal to, which you're a patriot to, becomes more important than the ego. So rather than having road rage, you'd let the person have road rage on their own. So if there's no tennis ball of anger coming back to them, the game's over, basically, because anger relies on anger to be angry. So okay, we've done enough on the power of faith, and I hope someone took something somewhere in that faraway world, and we do some meditation to finish off with. So turn within and let there be awareness of your goodness, your light-heartedness, your carefree and free attitude. Let there be the awareness that freedom is a state of your mind. And so I no longer have faith or believe in bondages, in problems, in situations that hold the energy of emotions. I just don't believe them anymore. I begin to believe in my own peace, my own love, my own sense of worth, my sense of worth hides behind many feelings of insecurity. So I go inwards, stepping inside deeply through my insecure feelings. And as I go into those insecure feelings, I'm letting them go, as they are only temporary furnishings within the human consciousness. Just beneath those feelings are my confidence, self-worth, power, self-esteem, and my stamina, my determination, and my courage. All lies underneath those insecure emotions, and I catch hold of myself as a perfect, flawless diamond, and have the deep faith that I am a child of the highest on high, Supreme Being, the one that does not see my weaknesses, is my own Father, highest child of the highest Father, most perfect child of the most perfect Father, a veritable lighthouse and might house. Have faith in only good things, and everything else will fall away. Om Shanti. Om Shanti.